My first job out of college, speaking of the whole raffle ticket thing, my first job out of college was a sales job, and we were in like the first sales meeting of the year, and the owner of the company came in, and he was kind of he's going to stop into the sales meeting for 5 minutes, and then he's gone. And he gives out this little laminated card to everyone, the 5 rules of selling or something stupid like that. He gives it out to every person, and he's like, put this in your wallet. Whenever you're getting down on yourself, take it out and read it, or whatever. So the next year, same meeting, new year, of course, he walks in for his 5 minutes, and he goes, who's got the card in their wallet that I gave to you last year? I was looking at him like, you're crazy, dude. He goes, who's got it? And one of the salesmen, he's an older guy, probably 55 years old, I think. I got it. He kept everything in his wallet from last year. His wallet was this thick. He pulls it out and goes like this. The owner goes, I figured about 5 of you would have it, so I got a $100 bill for each one of you. He slaps $500 right in front of him. He goes, you get it all. Walks out of the room. And nothing that guy ever gave anyone after that was thrown away. Everything that guy ever gave you were like, oh, is he going to give me like $500 now for this? I gotta hold on to it now. So he made his point, but so there, do your raffle tickets. My name's Geof White. There was no entrepreneur organization when I was in college, so you guys are actually pretty lucky to have people talk to you and give you different advice. But today, we're going to talk about dreaming versus doing. You may have a great idea. Are you dreaming about that great idea, or are you doing something about it? Before we talk about the doers and the dreamers, let's figure out what exactly an entrepreneur is. What does an entrepreneur look like?
Oh, not that one.
Oh, yeah, him too. Other way.
Yeah. There we go.
These are entrepreneurs, right? Got Mr. Gates, Mr. Jobs, and Mr. Branson. We call them vintage entrepreneurs because we don't want to call them old entrepreneurs. But this is what we think of when we think of entrepreneurs, right? Okay? How about this girl? Does she look like an entrepreneur to you? This is Chloe. Chloe started her popcorn stand at the age of 11. Right now, Chloe is a sophomore at Yale, okay? And she started her popcorn stand downtown Appleton when she was 11 years old. She bugged her mom. She said, Mom, I want to sell popcorn. I want a popcorn stand. And her mom was like, fine, you can do a popcorn stand. Well, from the age of 11 to the age of 18, she ran that popcorn stand downtown Appleton. Every farmer's market and every Thursday night, they do like a band night Thursday night downtown. And she sold popcorn. Over the years, she started selling some Gatorade. They started doing kettle corn. Next thing you know, she's Chloe's popcorn stand. She has a big sign that says, all the money I make popping popcorn's going to pay for college. And people would walk by, drop money in the box, and say, we don't even need any popcorn. And like I said, she is a sophomore at Yale. She sold her business as a senior in high school, and she collected enough money selling popcorn for those 7 years that Yale was paid for by the time she started Yale. So she doesn't have to work during college. Okay? How about this girl? She look like an entrepreneur? She's happy. Give her a thumbs up. This is Steph. Steph is part of the entrepreneurial trio called College Creamery. They got started, they were freshmen in college, and they were sitting around wondering what they were going to do for a summer job. None of them had summer jobs. So they were kicking ideas around. One of them said, we should get an ice cream truck. That'd be fun. And next thing you know, they're getting online. They're looking up, well, what does an ice cream truck cost? They're looking it up. Fast forward a couple weeks, one of their dads loans them some money to buy an ice cream truck, which they paid off in the first year. The 3 of them are 3 years in now, and you would think that they're driving around neighborhoods in that truck. No, they don't. From what they say, that's not the nicest truck in the world, but it gets them where they need to go, and what they do now is they go to events. The events call them and say, hey, can you come park your truck here? We're having a Little League tournament, and they'll take care of the ice cream concessions. These 3 girls are paying for college with their ice cream truck. Entrepreneurs. I was I was a teen entrepreneur myself. She mentioned it earlier. I started when I was 17, and this is how it started. I was cleaning windows, summer job for Rochester Window Cleaning. I was making $3.35 an hour. That was minimum wage back then. And I was standing in the mayor's chair, literally standing on his chair, cleaning the window behind his desk. And you're not supposed to stand on chairs when you're a window cleaner, but I was 17. I'm standing there cleaning the window, and his office girl peeks her head in and says, "Do you clean windows on the side at houses?" I never thought of that. I said, sure. Sure. So I went and I gave her an estimate. I ended up cleaning her windows, and she paid me $60. I was there for 3 hours. That's $20 an hour. And that's when my entrepreneurial switch really flipped. That was it. My brain shifted that day, because after that, I didn't want to clean windows for $3.35 an hour. I wanted to clean it for $20 an hour. What's the difference? You gotta go find the work yourself. I will be the first to admit I am not normal. I don't know any entrepreneurs that are normal. These people we just talked about, not normal either. What's normal is to be an employee. You apply for the job, you get the job, you punch in, you do what the boss tells you, you punch out, and then you pick up your paycheck on Friday afternoon. For some people, normal is comforting. For the entrepreneur, normal is hell. Many entrepreneurs show signs of being an entrepreneur at a very early age, specifically 5, 6 years old. If you had a hard time sitting still in school, which was me, you might be an entrepreneur. If you always questioned everything, you might be an entrepreneur. If you don't like to be told what to do, I have a huge problem with that. You might be an entrepreneur. If you always had a better way to do everything, you might be an entrepreneur. If every teacher, coach, and parent called you a pain in the ass, you might be an entrepreneur. If you painted rocks and sold them as a child, you are an entrepreneur. It's going to go right through. If you had a lemonade stand as a kid, you might be an entrepreneur. If a few of those resonate with you at all, you're not normal. You're different. You're an entrepreneur, so use that to your advantage. Embrace what you are. As you can see, these entrepreneurs come in all shapes and sizes. They aren't easily defined. There are two types of people that call themselves entrepreneurs: the dreamer and the doer. Let's look at each one. The dreamer often gives little or no consideration to what it takes to make the dream come true. The steps involved, the hours and hours of work. You hear the dreamer talk more about what it'll be like once they've achieved the success. The planes, the vacations, the big houses, whatever their dream is. Dreamers talk about how they're going to enjoy the money. They see Richard Branson and the Virgin Mobile commercials on his private jet, and they want to be him. The doer has dreams too. Whereas the dreamer enjoys the idea of the results, the doer enjoys making it happen. The doer enjoys the work, the everyday doing things your own way. And being an entrepreneur, you get to do it your own way. A doer always enjoys the business they're involved with. Doers have a tendency to really love the business end of it. The doer will also have more realistic goals than the dreamer. Now, I'm not here to put down the dreamer. After all, you need the dreams before you can become a doer. And there's the problem. People get stuck dreaming. Don't get stuck in the dream. Dreaming is the easy part. Dreamers don't have timelines, benchmarks, budgets. eagle that says success is blah, blah, blah. Take those posters for what they're worth. They are nice little pick-me-ups as you cruise through your day, but don't believe them. Does anyone know who coined the term? If you can dream it, you can do it? Anybody? Who knew that? Good job. Oh, you put slide up. You're supposed to- You're following. You have the wrong one. Okay, so you can read. When you see a poster that says, if you can dream it, you can do it, don't believe it. It should really say, what did it say?
What did it say?
If you can dream it, and you're willing to work your ass off, you can do it. If you're going to embrace your differences as an entrepreneur, you must also take responsibility for them. Are you willing to take responsibility? Are you willing to take the responsibility of creating your own opportunities? Are you disciplined enough to work your hours and schedule your own work? Are you willing to make the investment in making money for yourself instead of making money for someone else using your talents? When I was 17 and I was in transition from working for somebody else to working for myself, when I worked at Rochester Window Cleaning, I was making money every hour for someone else. Once I started cleaning windows on my own, every hour I worked, I made money for myself. And that's a big distinction between employee and entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are often labeled impatient, driven, obsessed, crazy, unrealistic, and crazy. Yes, I said crazy twice, because that's how normal people will see you. They don't understand. So here's a big question. Are you a dreamer or a doer? If you're a dreamer, how do you get past the dreaming stage and start doing? Hardest part of an entrepreneurial idea is getting started. There will be roadblocks, mental, physical, and financial, especially before you even start. So why is it so hard to start? Anybody have any ideas? Why is it so hard to start with your idea? What's the hard part?
Afraid of failure.
Okay, it's a big one.
Capital.
Money? Any more?
Fear of success.
Fear of success?
Nice. Somebody told you you couldn't do it?
That's a huge one. There are a lot of people who tell you you can't do it. I'm going to address that later too.
Fear of not knowing what you're going to come across.
Yep, fear of the unknown. All extremely valid. And that's why people don't do it. Those are the reasons. People get stuck on one of those things and it never happens. This is what we hear from a lot of students as roadblocks, and we talked about a little. When's the best time to start? Everyone seems to say, oh, wait till you're done with college. Really? Not the best time? Or you've never done this before. You know, as a student, you probably haven't done anything entrepreneurial before. Maybe you have, probably not. You're afraid to fail. You're afraid of what people will say, and they will say things. You don't have any money to start. That's a valid concern there. You just don't know where to start, and that's the big one. That's what most people say. I don't know where to start. What do I do first? So we're going to go through a few things as to how to start. The first thing you want to do always is prepare. Research your competitors, research success stories and failures in the field you're going to go into. What works? What works? What doesn't? How do these people interact with their customers? How do they find customers? You know, go to their website, go to Facebook pages, read their blogs, gather as much information as you can so that when you do start, you know what to do. You're not reinventing the wheel here. Someone else is doing something similar. I know what they're doing. The second thing you want to do, take the leap. Be brave and just do it. Be brave and go get that first customer. It's an amazing feeling when you go get your first customer, by the way. If any of you have never done that before, you start your own thing, you're all ready for business, who's going to pay you? Who's going to pay you? You get that first customer, and then it's fantastic, and it's taking a big weight off your shoulders. There's a huge element of bravery when someone starts working for themselves. You You got to squash that fear and get it done. Sometimes overcoming fear with bravery will make you a better person in other aspects of your life as well. Now, I wouldn't start your adventure the week of finals. Other than that, now's the perfect time to start. I mean, if all you guys now are a day to start, are you preparing? Third thing, do it your way. This is your business. You set the hours. You set the price. You make the decisions. If you're quirky, be quirky in your business. Be yourself. That's what I want to talk to, and this is very, very real. You got to ditch the doubters. People will tell you that your idea sucks. Or worse yet, they will give you the fake smile and nod because they think your idea sucks. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. You'll get a lot of that. The fake supportive nod. People will tell you can't do it. People will tell you to go get a steady job. People will poo-poo your idea just because they don't have a good idea. People will be jealous and wish you to fail. People you know, friends of yours, will hope you fail. My advice, use the doubters as motivation and prove them wrong. That fake supportive head nod, that's a huge motivator for me. I can't count how many doubters I had when I started writing Lemonade Stand Economics. I mean, everybody wants to write a book, but the number of people that actually write the book and publish the book is much lower. But now the book is published and it's for sale on Amazon, I look those people right in the eyes and I find it very gratifying that I did it. You doubted me, I did it. That's a motivator for me. Next thing I want to talk about, embrace your ignorance. Your ignorance is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because you come in fresh. You'll put a new spin on things whether you know it or not because you're so new to it. Ignorance can be a good thing. It can also be your demise. Stay ignorant for too long and it will catch up with you. Ignorance goes away with experience and education. When I started cleaning windows for myself at 17, I didn't have a lot of business skills. I was young. But I was energetic and I had the dream of paying for college. And that got me through until my ignorance went away. Next thing you want to do, and this will be the key to your success, is seeking opportunities. This is a really tough one to teach. How do you teach someone else to recognize an opportunity? With whatever business you start, there will be opportunities. There will be a lot of more opportunities than you even realize. There will be big opportunities, there will be short-term opportunities and long-term opportunities. Opportunities you start seeing and you'll start to recognize and see them as you go. But in the beginning, the most important part is to get yourself educated so that you can recognize those easier opportunities in the beginning. When we talk about opportunities, I want to talk about Robert. Robert is the master of opportunities. This is Robert. Robert is 21 years old. He's a senior now, senior at Stout, design major. This is how I met Robert. The way I met Robert was an opportunity for him. When we were about half done writing the book, we did a focus group with 13 high school seniors and college freshmen. What we did is we gave them little snippets of the book, talked about some of the wording. We wanted to know if we were going in the right direction. We wanted their input. And so we'd go around the room and ask questions. We'd have them read something, we'd ask questions. And every time we went around the room, Robert had a different answer. Now, the reason we were all there is because we offered each kid $50 in a sandwich. We offered lunch and $50. And Robert said, oh, $50 for an hour or two? I'm in. That's 50 or 25 bucks an hour. I'm in. So we went around the room and asked some questions, and Robert's answer was different every single time. And so we started, what's different about this kid? So we started asking. Well, it turns out Robert started his own business at 17. He owns Never Lost Jewelry. That's his stand there at the one of the Appleton downtown something. I can't remember if it was the farmer's market or something. He's always got something selling something somewhere. Now, how much money can you actually make selling jewelry, right? A couple bucks here and there? Oh no, Robert has everything timed. He knows exactly how much jewelry to make, how much to sell it for. He's got it in stores. He does shows all the time. He's got regulars. He's got people that buy it online. Robert has his own business, and he was answering those questions differently because he was an entrepreneur. Now, what he saw was an opportunity for $50 and a sandwich. Now, what that turned into, what Robert turned that into is, since then, and that was 3 years ago, I met him when we had our focus group. Robert illustrated the book. All the illustrations inside the book, that's Robert. He didn't do the cover, but the cover's already done, but all the illustrations, we hired him to do the illustrations because he's a great illustrator. He does a whole bunch of freelance design work now that we kick him because he's a good designer. And his business grew because of the notoriety he got from being a part of Lemonade Stand Economics. So Robert took a $50 opportunity and turned it into something really huge. Oh, and he was an intern this summer for us, and he was a paid intern. It wasn't a free internship thing that's going around right now. So, like I said, the moral of the story, sometimes you never know when a small opportunity turns really big. Because Robert wanting that $50 turned into him making a lot of money in a lot of different directions because he showed up that day. We would have never met him if he hadn't shown up that day. The next one I want to talk about, use your passion. This is my tribute to Mark Busco. Many of you know Mark, some of you must know Mark. I can't speak nearly as well as Mark someday. Passion is powerful. And I'm sure Mark's told you that before. When I was a teenager, I was passionate about making money and paying for college. I didn't have anyone that was going to pay for college for me. I had to do it myself, so I was passionate about it. I was not passionate about cleaning windows until I realized how much money I could make cleaning windows. And then I got real passionate about cleaning windows because there was a lot of money to be made. That passion made the jobs go by faster. That passion brought me more business. And if you're passionate about your business, it will attract people. That passion enabled me to pay for college cleaning windows on my own terms. Now, when we talk about passion, I have to talk about somebody by the name of Sarah. If anybody's been following Twitter for the last couple days, you might have seen that we mentioned Sarah. Sarah is 12 years old. She owns a business called Sarah Bug's Sweet Treats. She's in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. She's had her business for 3 years now, and she's enormously successful at 12. What separates her from all the other 12-year-olds I've ever met is her passion. This girl is passionate about a couple things. Number one, baking. If you ask her what her favorite sport is, she'll say baking. And that's how she is. She's also passionate about, when she makes money, she takes half of it and saves it for college, and the other half goes to the local hospice where her grandmother had died. So she doesn't keep any profits now at all. It's saved or donated. That's it. She's baking all day long. I mean, she's in school, but believe me, she's up at night baking. And that's where her money goes. But she's very passionate about those two things. 12 years old. If you want to meet a really sharp 12-year-old entrepreneur, get her on the phone. Wow, I've done that. It's amazing. Okay, there's the one last thing I want to talk about, and this is a big one. Don't quit. Now that you've prepared, you've taken the leap, you've ditched all your doubters, you've sought opportunities and embraced your ignorance, it's time for your follow-through. Just keep doing it. Don't quit. Don't go back to dreamland. Stay in Duville. You will be tempted to slow down. You will be tempted to relax and enjoy the small wave of initial success. Believe me, it will happen. You'll get the first couple of customers, you're like, oh, look at how successful I am, and you'll stop doing things. You need to keep that momentum going because that will keep you on track when you brush up against failure, and you will face failure. Every entrepreneur does. Resting on your laurels is dangerous for the entrepreneur. If not knowing how to start is the biggest roadblock to the entrepreneur, temptation to quit is the biggest road hazard on your way to success. It will happen. You'll want to quit. Things will get hard and you'll want to quit. I want to conclude tonight This is a shorter presentation so that we can talk afterwards. We've learned through this that there's a lot of the conversation happens after instead of during. I want to conclude this with a quote I saw recently. I don't know this guy who did the quote. This Stephen Toback. He's a social media consultant that I guess has started a few businesses. But I found his quote to be very relevant and true. It says, to me, it all boils down to this. If you want to become an entrepreneur for the sake of becoming an entrepreneur, that's probably not going to work out so well. If, on the other hand, you're driven to accomplish something cool and unique without a safety net, I think you should go for it. Okay, we're gonna do some question and answers now, and we'll stick around after to talk too if you've got questions you don't want to pose to the class. Any questions? What's that?
Do you still clean windows or
Good
have a
question.
business, or is it just the lemonade?
I've got Lemonade Stand Economics. I've actually got a couple businesses, but I do own a window cleaning company as well. And when I graduated from college, I stopped cleaning windows. I thought, I'm never cleaning another window. And I took a job, believe it or not. And I took a job, and I did that for 10 years. And then I was in sales, and it was fine for about 10 years, and I started bouncing around, and I lost my job. And I went back to cleaning windows just to pay the bills, and then it took off, and I ended up with a big business. I own it. I don't clean any of the windows now. I've got employees to do all that now. But it was good 10, 12 years in between.
So, you graduated from college, you were
Yep.
successful,
Yep.
and then you took your job.
Yep.
Which little skill you caused you to do that?
Taking the job.
Years caused you to do that.
This is why I took the job after college. I thought that's what I was supposed to do. That's what I went to college and I got a construction management degree. I went to Michigan State, got a construction management degree, and when I graduated, I'll tell you the story of how I got my first job, which is very related to the window cleaning. I thought you go to college so that you don't have to do something like clean windows. So I go to a couple of these job interviews, and I go to the first job interview, and I'm sitting there, and they're like, well, you've got a degree. By the way, back then a construction degree was rare. Nowadays, it's at every tech school. So back then it was rare. So you're sitting there, and they're like, well, you got the degree, but you don't have any experience in construction at all. It's like, no. Well, what'd you do all summer? Well, I have my own business. Oh, what'd you do? Well, I clean windows. Oh, well, we don't want you. Okay, you don't want the kid who started his own business at 17 and carried it all the way through to 23. You don't want the 6-year veteran of starting his own business. Why would you want that guy? They wanted somebody who had lugged bricks. Now, nowadays, if you were the kid who started your own business at 17 and sat down for the job, like, you're the guy. Anyway, so back then, that's the way it was. So I went to several interviews like that. They're all like, we can't hire you. You don't have any construction experience. And then I went to another job interview. It was more of a sales job. And the guy said, you cleaned windows in the summer? He goes, tell me about that. So, well, what I did is I cleaned everybody's windows, and then he goes, well, how'd you get all the customers? I go, well, it was easy. I said, put out some flyers, and then every spring I would get back from school, and I'd call all my customers and say, would you like to have your windows cleaned again? And they'd all say yes, because, you're a college kid. They're going to hire you. They love it. You'll read that in the book, by the way. They love hiring the college kid. So I'd call all my customers, and while I had them on the phone, I'd say, do you know anyone else that wants their windows cleaned? And every single time, they'd give you their sister's phone number or their neighbor's phone number. So every time you call, you ended up with 2 or 3 jobs out of it. And then every time I left a job, I'd say, well, if you know anybody else who wants their windows cleaned, next thing you know, my senior year of college, I wasn't calling anybody. My phone was just ringing all summer. That's what it was. By this time I was a senior, I could have very well, and I didn't know. See, that's why I'm saying you guys are lucky to have this. I didn't know I could sell my business. I didn't sell it. I walked away. Oh, yeah. See 100 and some customers, however many I had. I had them on index cards. We didn't have computers back then. Sorry, I just dated myself. But I walked away from it. I could have sold it. I wouldn't have gotten a ton for it because it's more or less a customer list. But Chloe sold hers. There's a kid down in Oklahoma that just sold a business. He was picking up dog poop for the last 4 years and sold it to a franchise. They can be sold. But I didn't know. Again, back to, I didn't know I could stay doing that. I thought you go to college and you go to work for somebody. I thought that's the way it was supposed to be. If I had known what I know now, I probably would have taken a different path. So anyway, I got hired. The company that did hire me hired me because of how I used to get customers as a window cleaner. They're like, you're not a window cleaner, you're a salesman. And was I or wasn't I? I don't know. I was all right in sales. Anybody else? Come on, it's got to be a question or two.
What are all your companies that you have now?
Well, we've got Lemonade Stand Economics, and I've got Valley Window Cleaning, and then this is my business partner, Kim. She's also the editor in the book. We have a small business that she runs more than I do, social media marketing business that we didn't really mean to start. Because of my marketing with the window cleaning and the marketing with the book, people kept calling and asking us for advice on, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And then people want help with their websites, and they want help with social media stuff. And so we started Lemonade Stand Marketing, and there's that too. Sometimes businesses just pop out of nowhere, when there's a need. What's that? Well, in the books, we've got scheduled to write 6 books, all for different groups. But we got the one out, and we're working on number 2 right now. College students. This one, okay, this was originally written for the high school student. Okay, does it relate to college students too? Sure. The second book is more of a panic book for the college student who's a sophomore. They saved for college, didn't save enough. It's a very common problem. Well, sophomore year, they realize, oh man, I'm short, big time. More expensive than I thought. I didn't save as much as I thought I did, and now I'm stuck. And how am I going to finish? Because a lot of parents out there just can't help. And so that book's going to be a little different taste. It's going to be a little more. You got to get to work right now, real fast. Right, and the other books are more financial literacy books. 2 of them, one for 8th grader and one for 5th grader. It's not so much go out and start working necessarily, but introducing ideas and doing more of the financial literacy stuff in there. And then the last 2, which are still a while out, would be the stay-at-home mom, who all of a sudden the family needs a little bit more money, and she doesn't realize that maybe she can do some things on her own versus taking a job. And the last one would be the downsized employee, and I know guys that's happened to. They're 40 years old and they just got laid off. What are they going to do? They're in some weird job that more or less got created for them, and they've got skills to do one thing that no other company needs. What are they going to do? And a lot of times, when you get to 40, you want to do your own thing. So that's going to be a book with a little different flavor too.
Steal the floor for a second if I can. I have maybe like a 2-part question for you.
Okay.
That I can expand on that. I graduated from here in '97 with physical education, sports management degree. Got a job, and not teaching, and doing what I'm going to do. Or what, the job there, like Geof. I did that for 25 years. Last November, working at the same place, they said thanks, and they cut it to 75%. Well, sort of like this says here.
Yeah.
I had this part-time business I started in 2008 that was athletic based because I got the itch.
Sure.
Like he just said, basically what he just said.
Yep.
And I had a lot of contacts. And first call I ever made, they bought something from me. And
There's a high to that, isn't there?
Yeah. So I started bringing shit home, filling the basements, and family loving me. I was like, okay, I'm gonna sell this, I'm gonna do that. It goes. It can go well. It can go fast.
Yep.
My question would be: is when you started, let's say, as the second time around, when you started the business back up, were you your own? You wore a lot of hats, right?
Oh yeah, every hat.
And so where I'm at right now, going well. It's sort of like you can't almost. It isn't like the phone's ringing off the hook.
Right.
The stuff I do is a lot of service based and so forth. You can't be around all the time, and then you need someone like when's the tipping point of you outsource a little bit of bookkeeping or so you can answer the phone. You can't keep taking more if you can't keep up with something.
Right.
You're up all night doing stuff.
Right. It's the tipping point is it's like alcohol and drugs. When it starts affecting the rest of your life, you need to get the help. This brings up another good one too, and I'm going to finish your question here. Starting a business as a student and starting a business for you, totally different. Absolutely different. 100% easier for the rest of you than him. Let me tell you why. Kids, mortgage, family, house. Do I need to list all the bills? Because it's going to make you all depressed. Cable bill, phone bills. Your kid needs lunch money today. Oh, and he's going on a field trip Thursday and he needs $20 for that. When you start as a student, you don't have that. You have some bills, don't get me wrong, but you don't have the pressure that you do. I started a window cleaning company at 17. I started a window cleaning company at 33. Enormous pressure at 33. At 17, it was a ton of fun. Just so much fun you couldn't. I loved it. Everybody was either jealous of me or hated me because I was out having fun, making lots of money. Now, as an adult, that's not the case. I forgot what the original question was.
No, I just
Tipping point.
The tipping point, when I started the second time, I went through the first year and I started in March, and by October, I was booked so solid that I knew I couldn't get through the next year without help. So I hired my first employee. Got, how many employees do I have now? 13, I think, total. We have a couple part-timers come in and help us, but again, office person, an operations manager, and then all the cleaners. I want to say you'll know when it's time, but you want to also do as much as you can. Well, first of all, when you're an entrepreneur and you're used to doing everything yourself, you don't want to give up the reins. You don't want to give up anything because you've got control over it and you do it right, first of all. When you hire an employee, it might not get done right. Well, I know the numbers of it actually. I know how much glass I can clean back in the day versus how many guys it takes to clean as much glass as I did, and it takes 2 to 3 guys.
But tell the story of Mary, though, when you hired Mary, because that made you so much more money.
Okay, well,
Because he did not know.
I have a good friend who was at the same point. He had started his business about 2 years earlier than mine when we started the window cleaning businesses. And he kept calling me going, dude, you're still taking all the phone calls yourself? What are you, crazy? He goes, you'll make $50,000 more if you hire a girl, put her in the office. I'm like, you're crazy, man. I've got this down. I'm driving down the road, talking on my cell phone, writing out the schedule, doing all this stuff all at once. And that's, nobody even wanted to drive with me because I was always talking on the phone. I was answering every phone call. And he's like, you're not understanding. It's going to be easier and you're going to make more money. I'm like, you are crazy because they're going to pay her. And he's like, that doesn't matter. He goes, what you pay her, she's going to make a lot more than that. It took me about a good year or two to realize that that is so true. You get to a point where, you know what? If I have an office person, I can say to that office person, hey, give every commercial customer a call right now and see if they want their windows cleaned right now. Just, it's another touch for the customer. If you read the book, I talk about touching the customer. It made a world of difference for my business. And I will, the funny part is, I'm not answering that phone now. Like, I'm used to not answering the phone now, and I'm good with that. Because I remember when I used to take 42 phone calls a day, and it'll drive you insane. There's the insanity of it. But when you start an entrepreneurial anything on your own, you do wear every single hat. And you're in control of the marketing, you're in control of the phone, you're in control of doing the work, you're in control of thanking the customer at the end of the day, you're in control of sending out the invoices, you're in control of calling the customers who haven't paid you yet, you're in control of doing the taxes, you're in control of giving it to the account. You've got all these different hats you wear. But as you get bigger, you are going to start outsourcing that stuff. And that's not always the cleanest process either. You might have to go through a few people before you find the right employees. There's that factor too. I hired people that were bad hires, and that's a nightmare too. It's a nightmare that always needs to be cleaned up. And who cleans it up? The guy with the hat, the wears all the hats. Once you get your system down, it's a little easier. But the tipping point, boy, once it starts, once your wife starts really getting mad at you because you're never ever home, yeah, you gotta do something about that. Anybody else? What?
The lights went down. Is that a signal of
I
some
don't
sort? Or?
Close soon.
Oh, okay. No, okay.
What would you do about price negotiation? Because I have my own cake business,
Okay.
but it's always hard because I tend to short myself
Right.
on the price, but I don't want to go if you're going too high and destroying the customer relationship.
Right.
Ooh, good
Pricing is
question.
tough. Tough. Pricing is tough. There's the market price, right? You probably know the market price. For a cake of whatever size or whatever, are they really fancy cakes?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
they're specialty. Like I do different shapes. Like for Easter, I
Okay.
do a huge peak.
Wow.
The giant peat cake. Here's my philosophy on pricing, and I've done different philosophies on pricing with the businesses. Books are market driven. If this book costs $21, we're not going to sell very many. At $16, that's where you need to be. At $10, you might sell a couple more, but 16 is where you need to be. Window cleaning, that market gets driven down by competitors, which maybe you're running into, I don't know. But if you are doing something cool, like what you're doing, and it's unique, and it's custom, you have every right to bump that price up a little bit. Now, how comfortable are you personally bumping up the price? It sounds to me like you're not real comfortable with it. This is my advice because this is the way we were with windows. My window cleaning company does a lot of the high-end houses. We do commercial work too, but we do an enormous amount of residential work. Residential work is more custom than commercial, so the price is a little bit higher. You need to get to a point within yourself where you can say, you know what, I'm worth it. If you're not willing to pay it, I'm sorry, but this is what it's going to cost me to do it. The more custom you are, the more able you can do that. Robert, with his jewelry, he makes it very, very custom. Charges whatever he wants. If you don't like the price, he says move on.
And part of that is too that Geof talks about in the book. There's that chapter 6 that's all about bidding. And windows obviously is different than cakes, but you do have to look at the point where you're taking all of your materials into consideration, but then you also have a point in your head of how much money you're gonna make an hour. And you said you did that in the beginning, like $20 an hour was his base rate.
That was my standard
Mm-hmm.
for a while, and then I realized I can charge $25 an hour. When I was 30, when I was 35. I kind of stopped at 50 because I was working more efficiently. Now, you're talking about a relationship with the customer, and I understand that too, because that is, here's a customer, you really like the customer, you're afraid you're not going to get the business. Do you know the big rule of negotiation? What's the big rule of negotiation, everyone? No?
That's for sure.
You are always in a better position than you think you are. Every time you negotiate, you're probably in a much better position than you think you are, because the fear inside your head is saying, oh, he's got me on this one. I'm going to have to go down. I'm going to have to go down. Well, guess what the other person's thinking? Same thing. You're in a better position. So what you want to do is come out strong and say, this is my price. And don't try this. Don't waver. This is my price. Once you get to a point where you're comfortable with saying, that's my price. And there are tactics too, and I think I have these in the book if I remember correctly. If somebody says, well, could you do it for $5 less? You say, you don't like my product? You want me to make it smaller? Or you don't want me to go to college? I got to finish that class. I can't finish the class if I'm only charging you $20. I need to charge you $30. Or you can say something like, is $10? Now this is confrontational. Some customers you can do this with, some you can't. Say, is $10 that important to you? Do you want like the best cake, or do you want to go to Walmart? Reading the customer is where you need to go with that kind of stuff. But what you need to do is just create a price, Pricing is a very, very, very hard thing for people to do in the beginning. My window cleaning prices were much lower in the beginning than they are now because I didn't understand all the costs, and my costs are higher. Now, you know what your costs are, you know what you want to make. Get your ideal, price it, and just stand by it and see what happens. I always say it, you just got to grow the kahunas and just say, that is my price. And if you had Robert standing here to go, yeah, I don't negotiate with anybody.
No.
That's
And
what he'd say. He'd say, I don't negotiate with anybody.
Right. He sets his rate at $50 an hour.
That's it.
So he knows how many necklaces he can make in an hour, and he knows what his overhead cost is. And if you think like in your particular position, Geoff mentioned you want to go get a Walmart cake. You walk into Walmart and they're going to tell you the cake is $24.95. You don't, as a customer, say, "Well, can I get it for $20?" You don't do that. They'll do just what Geoff said. Well, yeah, we'll sell it to you for $20, but you don't get the Winnie the Pooh on the top, and you don't get the pink and purple frosting. You get the white. They'll change that price, and I think it just is a matter of being brave. And part of it is too, when you're in a negotiating situation, is that one of the rules when I do fundraising is one of my jobs before we started doing the marketing. And if they make a decision too quick, that means you asked for too little. So if you go in and they say, "Oh, $24.95, okay," that means you didn't price it out enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want them to hesitate a little bit, and then they'll call you back the next day. It's just that waiting game.
Right. In the contractor world, if you get every single bid you give out, your prices are too low. You should be getting rejected at least 10%, preferably 20%. The more rejection you get, you're getting the price to where people are willing to pay it. They might be uneasy about it, but you also have to follow that up with the service and the value.
That's
Your
a good
value
point.
is what makes your price valid. You can say, if you're making crappy cakes and trying to charge more for them, it doesn't work. But if your cakes are spectacular, people aren't going to care. They're going to care as long as it's in the fair range. And I talk a lot about the fair range in the book, that there's a fair range for everything you buy. You want to be on the high side of fair. Now, being on the high side of fair also means your value has to be good. You have to do everything right. And as far as I'm concerned, no problem with doing everything right. That's where I want to come out of the gate anyway, so I can charge on the high side of fair. Are you going to lose a few customers? Sure. But if you do all the numbers and you always charge that higher rate, you can afford to lose a few customers. Otherwise, you charge the lower rate, you have to have more customers to make that same amount of money. It's Walmart versus Macy's.
That's a good question. That's very common for people
Value,
when they first start
value,
working for
value,
themselves.
and the younger you are, the harder it is. Because I remember being a kid too. They'd be like, "Oh, couldn't you do it for $50 instead of $75?" Oh, all right, because I'm already there. Now I'm just like, that's my price. That's how much it's going to cost for us to do it.
If you go to
And it's easier
sorry.
too once you do it. Once you become rigid on your prices, it's easier. It's yes or no. Instead of, "Oh, do I do it? Do I not do it?" It doesn't take the thought.
If you go to lemonadestandeconomics.com, you'll see we have a slideshow of student entrepreneurs on there, and that story reminded me of Brianna. Brianna's 11 years old, and she makes fleece blankets, and she saves all of her money for college. She started working when she was 9, and she's got about $5,000 saved right now that she earned from making fleece blankets. And people do that to her all the time. She sells at craft fairs, and she has, the blankets are each, $25. And, the mom comes up and says, "Oh, well, if I buy 2, will you give them to me for $40? And Brianna, with a cute little innocent, sweet Girl Scout face, says, "Well, it took me the same amount of time to make both of them." And they pay her $25. So-
and who's the Girl Scout who sells the most cookies every year?
Brianna.
You wanna get somebody who's, first of all, she's not gonna speak in front of this crowd. She does not like crowds. But you put her selling in a crowd, and it's amazing. She will outsell everyone in the room every single time. Doesn't matter what it is. When we had our book kickoff, tell them about that.
Yeah.
We did a book event where when the book was published in December, we had a book party. Everyone that was involved and all these kids that we've talked to, and we had the kids come in and set up and sell their stuff. Who kicked butt?
Oh, Brianna.
Brianna
without a doubt.
cleaned up like you would not believe, because you know what? She's got a product that everybody wants, and she sells it, and man, oh man, I don't know how much she made
And
that night.
she
but
will
a
she will
grand
talk to
maybe?
you all day long about margins and overhead. She'll tell you
How
about
she hired her little brother and then fired her little brother.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like some of these kids you talk to, you're like, where did they get this from? I mean, Brianna especially and Sarah Bugs, those two. We haven't seen Sarah Bugs. She's in Canada, but you talk to her on the phone, and you're like, this can't be coming out of a 10-year-old's mouth.
because they play Barbies.
I've got
Like,
a 10-year-old. He's not talking about this stuff.
No, they play Barbies, and then I'll tell you about margins and markup. And like Brianna is a perfect example. She sells at craft fairs, and she always has a Packers blanket out and a Badgers blanket out. And you ask her why, and she's like, because it gets people to the booth. But what she really likes to sell, when you get to the booth, what she'll really try to sell you is the red and white checkered and the green and gold checkered. Because they're the same price, but her margins are lower because this is licensed fleece.
Well, it'll be $5 less.
Right. And
She
so
charges
she'll
$5 less, so she'll try to talk you into the other one because the margin on the one without
It's
the
higher,
Packer
right.
licensing fee, she's got more of a margin on that. So she will go, you know, you can just get this one for $5 less. It looks the same.
Right. This is
She's-
the one. This is the one that a lot of people like.
She's
to
a
take to
sales
stadiums.
machine and has no idea she is. It's great talking to her. I'm just like, oh, she's just like the best salesman I've ever met. And she's just, so I sold 3,000 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
She
how
was.
are you doing this?
She was number 5 in the state for Girl Scout.
And that probably upset her a little bit.
It did.
I would not be surprised if she's like, I can't be number 5. She's very competitive.
Those are
Yes,
great
pricing. Good question. Anybody else?
Yeah, the same situation. You started doing it on the side, like being in a different situation than what a college student is. It's a side business, so I can screw the other person because I don't have a lot of overhead and I'm not dependent on this.
Right.
Now I'm dependent on it.
Right.
And those same people I was giving a good price to.
questions.
I guess if you're making cakes to start out with, your mom said you can make one for your aunt. And families do it. And you're they're gonna swindle you a little bit because they're the relative and stuff.
Right.
And then if you want to go bigger, now all of a sudden you gotta cover the lights, you gotta cover the internet, you gotta cover all the phones, you gotta cover maybe employees, and you gotta jack up all the prices on everybody that help you.
Yep.
And they'll try to play you like,
Your first
I'm the one that
customers,
started you.
your first customers, you love
Yeah.
for those first couple of years until you get bigger and they're your underpriced customers. And then when you try to raise the price, they don't like it. And when I don't show up to clean your windows, they don't like it. And all of a sudden, your first group of customers are not your ideal customers anymore.
God, it's just like I'm living your. It's like
They love you because you were cheap and you did such a good job. And then 2 years later, employees show up and they're not you. And no matter how good a job they do, they're not you. Because they're not going to carry on the same conversation with you.
there's a little problem with it. And
They'll find something
things that
wrong.
happened with me or
We had one lady call because she said their tools smelled. Well, I don't know what to say to that. Their tools smelled? Did you smell their tools first of all? Because I'm wondering about you. And then if the tools smelled, I don't know what we're supposed to do about that. You stick your hands in the bucket, you clean the windows. I don't know. That was her way of complaining. Your ideal customer year 1 is a very different customer than your ideal customer year 5. And in year 10, your ideal customer is more like 5, but nothing like year 1 at all. And it's sad because sometimes you really like those year 1 customers. They were the people that got you started. Those are the people that got you going, that referred you around. Next thing you know, you'd rather clean windows for the referral than for her. And that's just the reality of business. Business, that's another part of being an entrepreneur. You start getting so into your business, you kind of lose perspective of things. When you step away from your business, you look at it, you look at the numbers and go, oh, I was giving away the farm in certain areas. We need to do more of this just to make more money. And everyone's, oh, that's bad, it's not all about the money. Well, there's nothing wrong with loving money. Nothing at all.
We usually find that a lot of students that talk about, well, it's not all about the money and the money isn't important, are students that don't pay their own rent. Because students that pay their own rent will tell you it's about the money because you have to have the money to pay the rent. So The sheet that you have in front of you that's got the Lemonade Stand Economics logo on it, it has all of our social media outreach. But what this is actually one of Geoff's more recent blogs. If you go to the website, you'll find tons and tons and tons. He doesn't even know what he writes, but you'll find a lot of really what we hope to be good and inspirational blogs, and you're welcome to give us feedback. But those are all on the website. And then, of course, we do want you to follow us, of course, on Twitter. Geoff has his own. So you can follow and ask Geoff questions. You
Sure.
don't have to talk to me at all.
And because I'm not your age, I don't tweet that much. I retweet. I can do that button.
I got him down on that. He can do it. I just have to coach him sometimes. But, and then we're on Facebook as well. So
And if any of you, Cake Girl, see now you're officially called Cake Girl.
yeah, every presentation we have somebody in your Cake Girl.
I was
so.
Geoff White, the window cleaner, for years. If I would have continued with that student business, I should have called it Geoff White, the window cleaner, because that's what everybody called me. If any of you have businesses, contact us, because we like to put people on our website that are doing this to pay for college.
Yeah, and we provide a lot of social media support as well. Be able to, we help Robert with his page and Brianna and different student business owners. We like to be able to get that back.
Sometimes they just want advice too. Hey, we're having trouble with this. What do you think? And that's how people learn. People ask questions.
Or you never know who's going to call us and want cakes. I mean, you don't know. I mean, seriously,
That's true.
you can't believe the questions we get. So,
Yeah.
Excellent. Any more questions?
Anybody else? We're going to stick around for a few minutes after if anybody wants to come up and ask us a question too.